Hello and welcome to Diplomatic Channel. I am Amarachi Ubani. Social distancing has become word for the season as governments around the world grapple with the realities of the COVID-19 pandemic. Restrictions to movements and associations are being announced, and here in Nigeria, governments, both federal and state, are employing precautionary measures to keep citizens safe. We heard a lot about precautionary measures during the week, as globally everyone is trying to be safe. That's where Diplomatic Channel is headed this week. We'll take a look at how some countries in the world are trying to curb spread of COVID-19 and still keep afloat. My guest this week is the Chinese director of the Confucius Institute at the University of Lagos, Professor Wang Yongjing, who's been in Nigeria for a while now. She speaks about learning of coronavirus on her return to Nigeria and how she's been educating others on the disease. That's Diplomatic Channel in a wrap. First, a quick check on other discussions in diplomatic circles. There are now over 300,000 cases of the coronavirus globally, with 92,000 recoveries and 13,000 deaths, and this as at Sunday, March 22nd. According to the African Center for Disease Control, there are more than 1,000 cases of the disease on the continent, with Uganda reporting its first case on Saturday night after testing a passenger who had returned home from Dubai. The Rwandan government announced it may extend its 14-day lockdown imposed last Thursday, as at Sunday it reported 17 cases of COVID-19. The DRC has reported its first COVID-19 related death after a doctor who had returned from France succumbed to the disease. However, the Africa Center for Disease Control says so far 108 patients have recovered after contracting the virus. In the meantime, the first batch of masks and test kits donated by Chinese billionaire Jack Ma has arrived in the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa. A week ago, Mr. Ma said he will donate 20,000 testing kits to each of the 54 African countries to curb the coronavirus spread. In a statement last Monday, Mr. Ma and the Alibaba Foundation pledged to further donate 100,000 masks and 1,000 medical use protective suits and face shields.
This initiative that was brought by our Excellency Prime Minister Abiy and in partnership with Jack Ma Foundation is going to be really instrumental in not only impacting our country's capacity but the whole continent's capacity in detecting cases timely and also enabling to contain and mitigate the outbreak, because as much as you detect, that's when you can contain this outbreak.
It's a huge threat for Africa, not even a threat, it's a looming disaster for Africa. We have to be very clear and take this seriously. We have to win the battle against COVID in Africa because it's going to be devastating in the humanitarian side, in the economic side and our security side. So this is a serious challenge for the continent.
The Russian military has started sending medical supply to Italy on Sunday to help it battle the coronavirus after receiving an order from President Vladimir Putin. The Russian president spoke to the Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte on Saturday, offering his support and help in the form of mobile disinfection vehicles and specialists to aid the worst-hit Italian regions. The Russian Defense Ministry released a video of trucks and cars loaded with medical equipment and transport planes at the Shlavovsky military airdrome in the Moscow region. Italy has recorded a jump in the number of deaths, taking the death toll in the world's hardest-hit country to almost 5,000. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has rejected America's offer to help Iran in its fight against the new coronavirus pandemic, calling it strange. Washington has offered humanitarian assistance to its longtime foe, the Middle Eastern country most affected by the coronavirus, with 1,685 deaths and 21,638 people infected as of Sunday. Tension between the two countries have been running high since 2018, when U.S. President Donald Trump exited Tehran's 2015 nuclear deal with 6 world powers and reimposed sanctions that have crippled the Iranian economy. Frictions increased when Trump ordered a U.S. drone strike that killed the top commander of Iran's Revolutionary Guards, Qasem Soleimani, on January 3rd. Iran retaliated by hitting US targets in Iraq on January 8th. Not to scare you or anything, but the situation in Italy over the coronavirus is enough to let world leaders know they have to fight this disease head on with everything they've got. And that includes forcing citizens to take precautions. And while we're gradually entering lockdown more in this part of the world, some others have gone way ahead. In Italy, where the death toll has surged nearly 800 in a single day, all precautions are being observed. The country has been on lockdown for about 2 weeks. Amidst stricter measures being observed, an increasing number of roadblocks are operating to control the population's movements in all major cities like Rome and Milan. The hardest hit region is north of the country, Lombardy, where the situation remains critical. They've recorded over 3,000 deaths and nearly 26,000 cases. Spain has a problem with a lack of hospitals to help deal with the sick. Authorities are now turning conference centers into giant military hospitals for COVID-19 patients. The country has the second worst outbreak in Europe, as death toll soars, nearing 1,400, and the number of cases nearly 25,000. Thousands are under lockdown, and many have been protesting by banging pots and pans from their balconies against the way King Philippe has addressed the crisis. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez says the worst part of the coronavirus outbreak hitting the country is yet to come. French President Emmanuel Macron has ordered stringent restrictions on people's movement to slow spread of the coronavirus and ordered the army to help move the sick to hospitals. Last week, he said people should stay at home unless it was to buy groceries, travel to work, exercise, or for medical care. Restaurants, bars, schools, and even ski resorts have been shut. President Macron said the unprecedented measures in peacetime were needed as the number of infected people doubled every 3 days and deaths spiraled higher. The normally busy shopping streets of Munich, Germany, have been almost devoid of people as the state of Bavaria imposed strict restrictions to try and stem the spread of the coronavirus. Restrictions on shops, bars and restaurants are in place across the country, but the states of Bavaria and Saarland have gone further in banning citizens from leaving their homes, except to go to work, do essential shopping, visit the doctor, or take exercise alone. All non-essential shops must remain closed, but small businesses are finding different ways to continue trading. Over in Asia, Hong Kong public servants are being asked to work from home. University exams have been postponed, while all arrivals from overseas are required to go into a mandatory self-quarantine for 14 days, a measure that came into effect on Thursday last week. The country has so far reported more than 270 cases, with 4 deaths. Senegal in Africa is imposing a coronavirus lockdown, forcing foreigners to make last-minute arrangements to leave the country. It has only reported at least 47 cases. By Saturday, tens of millions of people in America's New York City were told to stay home, as the city reports more than 5,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19.
We can confirm in New York City, 5,151 cases confirmed of coronavirus. And to give you perspective, that is now about 1/3 of all the coronavirus cases in the United States of America. It is about 2/3 of the cases in the state of New York. I hate to say this, but it's true. We are now the epicenter of this crisis right here in the nation's largest city.
And in the UK, Prime Minister Boris Johnson effectively closed down the country on Friday when he ordered pubs, restaurants, theatres, cinemas and gyms to shut their doors in a bid to slow down the accelerating spread of the coronavirus.
I must be absolutely clear with you. The speed of our eventual recovery depends entirely on our ability, our collective ability, to get on top of the virus now. And that means we have to take the next steps on scientific advice, and following our plan, we are strengthening the measures announced on Monday, which you will remember. And already people have made a huge effort to comply with those measures for avoiding unnecessary social contact, but we need now to push down further on that curve of transmission between us.
Sirens blared on Saturday as Jordan began a nationwide curfew, limiting the mobility of its 10 million citizens indefinitely to combat spread of the coronavirus.